Hello friends, Becky here. I'm coming at you with recipe number, I think 6. I'm starting to lose track at this point. I'm pretty sure we're on recipe number 6 for my 2019 recipe project. I am making chicken chili today, and this recipe is cute. My dad actually made this for an 8th grade project that I was doing. Probably was supposed to make it myself, but I definitely remember him making it and telling me what he was doing, and I was definitely sitting in the kitchen when he did it, but 100% didn't make it. So not a whole lot of tweaks going on in this recipe either. It's going to be really about quality of ingredients, but either way, let's get started. Almost forgot my daily or weekly, I guess, message to you guys, which is about that this project isn't about making everything perfect. It's not about eating 100% clean or having everything fit into some category all the time. It's just about making small tweaks so that some of your favorite recipes that might sometimes go overboard in terms of your health goals and set you back a little bit, this way you can make small tweaks and keep them in your life on a more regular basis. So we're going for progress, not perfection, always. So I've got 2 pounds of chicken breast there that I just cut into cubes, some all-natural crushed tomatoes, 2 big cans. That's really one of the only main tweaks that I made, and it's not even a tweak. You need the crushed tomatoes. Just go for one that doesn't have any added sugar or added ingredients. If you can get salt-free, awesome, or just low sodium, but pretty standard stuff there, as natural as possible. I've diced up 1 onion. We've got 1 can of garbanzo beans, chickpeas, and 1 can of black beans. The actual recipe calls for kidney beans, but if I'm being honest, I had black beans in my pantry, so I went with those instead. And then lots of yummy spices. So we've got some cumin, some chili powder, some curry, and then how many people are going to tell me that I pronounced this wrong? Worcester sauce, whatever. You know what I'm talking about. This friggin' stuff that no one likes to pronounce. And that's all you need. I've got a little olive oil heating up in this pan. Not a lot, just kind of enough to coat the bottom of it. I'm not trying to eat olive oil here. So a little bit of oil to coat the pan. While that's heating up, I'm gonna season the chicken, and I may have lied to you. You need these spices, but you're also gonna need our staples, which are salt, pepper, and garlic powder. So I'm gonna season the chicken with those. Once this is heated up, I'm just gonna start browning the chicken. Really, really easy one-pot meal here that doesn't take too long to make. And actually, while I'm waiting for this to heat up, I just wanna touch base. I've gotten a few questions from some of you, which, by the way, I love. Keep sending in your questions, your feedback. It's all amazing and so appreciated. But a few people have reached out kind of asking why I'm telling you to get ingredients that are salt-free and then I'm adding salt myself. And it's not because I want you to avoid salt. Remember, I'm not gonna tell you to avoid anything, but when I put salt in myself, I control the amounts. Whereas if you're getting something that's been pre-packaged, you really don't know the level of salt that is in there. I mean, it'll tell you on the package how much sodium is in there, but you want to be in control of as much of the ingredients as you possibly can. So that's why I tell you to go salt-free or all natural or sodium-free or low sodium, so that you can minimize that and then you take back control over how much salt you're adding in a dish. Your body actually needs sodium, so I'm not telling you to avoid it completely. I just want you to control the amounts. Just made a quick little switch, and I'm gonna tell you about it while I do it. I had just like a saucepan originally heating up with some oil, and then I'm looking at my ingredients and I realized that it would definitely overflow. So now I've got like a pasta pot. This is gonna be better, so do the same thing. All right, this oil is nice and hot. The chicken is seasoned, so you hear that? That's how you know the pan was ready. So I'm adding the chicken and I'm yelling. I'm adding the chicken into the pot. I'm just gonna let it brown for a few minutes, and then I will go ahead and add the onion. Okay, the chicken is browned, so now I'm grabbing my onions. Remember to scrape off your cutting board with the back end of your knife so you don't dull the blade. I am adding in that onion that I just chopped. I never take videos of me like dicing an onion or anything because I'm horrible at chopping. I think I mentioned this in a video in the past that my family has even given me a hard time at how poorly I chop anything for somebody who loves to cook so much. So anywho, I'm gonna let the onions cook in here until they're just a little bit soft before we start adding in the tomatoes and the beans and all that good stuff. Okay, everything is smelling really good. I'm going to now pour in the tomatoes and beans. I am convinced that we own the world's worst can opener, and yet I'm still like too lazy to go out and buy one. or just order one on Amazon. Anyways, tomatoes are in somewhat haphazardly. And now I'm gonna dump in the beans, chickpeas, black beans. Again, the recipe called for kidney beans, but I had black beans, and black beans work in chili as well, in my opinion. So I'm gonna stir everything together and then add in the spices. So again, we have curry, cumin, and chili powder. Let's see, the recipe calls for 2 tablespoons of each. I'll probably stick with that. Might go a little heavier on the chili powder or add in some crushed red pepper. Those are that's my favorite. Just a quick note, so I said I didn't really tweak much. I just went for more all natural ingredients, salt-free, sodium-free, all that kind of stuff. If you wanted to though, you could sneak in some extra veggies. I talk about that a lot, right? Anytime you can hide more veggies in a recipe, do it. You could throw in some kale or spinach at the very end. Don't ever do like a leafy green too early on, or it just gets like to be nothing. You could dice up some peppers and throw them in here. You could, if you aren't eating meat, you can remove the chicken and do double the beans and just kind of get protein from those beans. It's a really nice protein source. There's a few things that you can do to kind of tweak this and make it your own. I was working with what I had in the kitchen, so I didn't add anything extra, but really, really good way. Any type of chili or soup or sauce is a great way to hide in veggies, so highly recommend doing that. Gosh, I guess I should measure out the spices, but I'm probably not going to. So at this point, I play around in the kitchen so much. I know what flavors I like. I know what flavors my husband likes. So I kind of just go for it. Start small, and then you can add more as you go. Because remember, you can't take a spice out, but you can always add more in. So I kind of just wing it. The recipe calls for 2 tablespoons, of each. So I'm probably gonna actually go with a little bit more because I stayed a little bit light on here. But what's really cool about chili, especially since the chicken is already cooked through, is that you can taste it along the way and tweak things that way. So I'm just gonna stir this all together, let it sit for a little while, see if I need to add more spices, and then we'll see where we're at. All right, so I just gave everything kind of a few minutes to sit together in the pot. I'm gonna taste it. It smells good. It tastes good. I'm gonna do a little bit more chili powder. I told you I really like spice. And a little bit more cumin. I think I'm good on the curry though. And again, test it out. So you'll kind of keep adding and tasting as you go along, but ultimately you're gonna want this to just sit on simmer for about an hour, or until the chicken is like super tender and falling apart. But really pretty simple. Let me show you in the pan pot. So just really stirring everything all together. The chicken will tenderize. It should be like you should be able to shred it with a fork. You don't need to for this recipe. It's kind of the point is to have it in like big chunks and cubes. It's super hearty that way, but you want it to get super tender. So it's just gonna sit here for about an hour. And that's it, friends. I mean, super easy, one pot dish. I love stuff like this, especially for weeknights. And this is great because there's a few nights this week where I'm traveling and Matt can have plenty of leftovers, not having to worry about cooking anything or anything like that. So I love recipes like this that make a lot, that are healthy, that are hearty, and that don't leave a lot of dishes to be cleaned. So a couple things I want to touch on here. If I'm coaching you through my virtual boot camp, or we're just working on your nutrition, make sure that when you're counting your containers, I would measure it out in your green one and count that as a red, a green, and a yellow. You can do 1.5 greens for those counts. But what I really want you to pay attention to is, because this is where people get kind of stuck with chili. 1 is overeating, but 2, it's what you put on top of it or what you eat with it. So for example, chili is best known with cheese and chips, right? I mean, that's kind of what you're used to putting on top of your bowl. That's kind of what you're served with. You can skip the chips. Again, it's not that carbs are the enemy. We put carbs in here, remember? It's the source of where you're getting your carbs. So, you know, you can avoid the chips. The chili is still just as good. Or if you are gonna have the chips, just make sure that you're not grabbing them straight from the bag. A big tip that I like to give my clients is when you're gonna have like a salty snack or something that's a little bit indulgent, measure out 1 serving and then walk away. Put the rest of it away. When you walk into the living room with a bag of pretzels or a bag of chips, it's really hard to control how much you're eating. So put some in a little Ziploc bag or put some in a bowl and walk away and have that be your serving size. Especially because if you're watching TV or football or something, and you're having these snacks, you're kind of just mindlessly eating throughout the whole time that you're watching TV, so it's just better to pre-portion them out. You can put cheese on top. Again, fat is not the enemy. Like have some cheese on top if you want. What I would probably recommend is if you're really trying to monitor where you're getting your healthy fats from, try some sliced avocado instead, or do a little bit less cheese and then add some avocado in addition to it. You could dice up some white or red onion and sprinkle that on top and get a nice crunch that maybe you would miss if you didn't have the chips. So there's some things that you can do to tweak this and to make it feel, you know, like a perfect Sunday game day snack or whatever it is you're doing. So lots of little easy tweaks to make. This recipe was pretty healthy all on its own, but I don't have my official taste tester here. My husband isn't home right now to test this out, so hopefully you trust me when I say that it tasted good. But maybe you should just try the recipe for yourself and let me know. See you next time.